Mike Brooks, former Fed with the FBI, what can they do? The searches today are called off. No searches.
That's, Nancy, there's not much they can do right now. All of the cards are in Casey Anthony's hands. She holds the key to this case. She needs to cooperate, but she most likely and possibly never will.
To California bounty hunter, we are taking your calls. Leonard Padilla, he was there in the home after her last release from behind bars. Right now, they are hunkering down, preparing for another arrest on additional charges. But what I don't get, we all know that Mom Casey Anthony holds the key to where little Caylee is, dead or alive. What does the family do? You were in the home. What do they do? She just sits there at the dinner table and watches the 6 o'clock news. They act like nothing's going on?
Well, Casey was spending a lot of time in her room. When Jose Baez, her attorney, would come over, he'd make sure that she wasn't around the other people in the house. She was solitary in her room. And one day when the FBI and some local officials came over to ask the Anthony family to take a lie detector test, Lee became agitated. We were sitting out in the RV, and at first they agreed to, and then he came back out and said, no, we're not going to take lie detector tests at all.
Whoa, wait. It's the first time hearing of this. I've asked you 50 times what goes on in the house, and suddenly I'm hearing they asked the Anthonys to take a lie detector test, and they did not do it?
That's correct. We were sitting in the RV, and we saw first there was a Child Protective Services individual went in, and then later on some law enforcement
went in. Wait, are you talking
about
George and Cindy Anthony were asked to take a polygraph, and they declined?
At first they agreed, and then when Lee went back in there, he came back out and told us that he had told them, no, we're not going to take lie detector tests.
Why?
And neither was he. I don't know. I told him that was the best way to get cleared by the FBI of any charges or anything like that that might be coming down the road, and he said, no, I don't care if we're not cleared, we're not taking them.
Tony and I were playing video games waiting for the All-Star game to come on for the evening, and there was a knock at the door. Casey got up to answer the door. It was Amy. Amy told Casey that she needed to speak with her, so Casey and Amy stepped outside. They came back in the house. They were followed by Cindy Anthony back in. Her mother said, get your things and let's go, and Casey replied, I'm not leaving. If you want to talk, let's go outside and talk. Cindy seemed a little upset. The three of them then exited the apartment, and that was the last time that me or Tony have seen Casey.
You were just hearing the roommate of Mom Casey Anthony in the time just before and after her little girl went missing. We are taking your calls live out to the lines. Donna in Texas. Hi, Donna.
Hello, Nancy. I love your show, and I love you.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in. What's your question?
My question is in regards of Cindy Anthony stating when she called 911 that there was an odor of a dead body in the car.
Yes.
And then last night I seen a piece of tape that you played, and now she's stating there was no odor in the car before it was towed. How does she know this if she had no contact with the car until the towing company contacted them to come and pick it up?
What about that, Mike Brooks?
I'll tell you, Nancy, who knows what to believe was from Cindy Anthony. Then she said also, oh, it was a bag of pizzas with maggots. She's a nurse. She knows what a decomposing body smells like. And her father was a former law enforcement officer. He knows it also. It's just, you don't know what to believe from these people. They're in serious denial, Nancy. And, well, where does it go from here with them?
Well, let me ask you this. What do you make of Leonard Padilla's revelation that the Anthonys did not take a lie detector test when asked?
Well, what we've been saying from day one, if you want to clear yourself, go ahead, put yourself on the box with a good polygraph examiner. The FBI was more than willing to do it. And this is very, very surprising to me that they were going to go ahead and do it. And then they said, no, we're not going to. What do they have to hide?
Out to Marie in Florida. Hi, Marie.
Hi, Miss Nancy. How are you doing?
I'm good, dear. What's your question?
Well, my question is, why do the parents of Casey Anthony feel it's necessary for them to spend all that money on a criminal defense lawyer? Why do they need one? Are they guilty of something?
That is an interesting question. Let's unleash the lawyers again. Eleanor Dixon, Peter Odom, Mickey Sherman. Why do the grandparents have criminal defense attorney? Mickey?
Well, we just heard one person, Mr. Padilla, say they were asked to take a polygraph and they decided not to. I mean, they are obviously being accused of, if not committing crimes, at least acting inappropriately. You know, these days, you know,
They haven't been accused of anything.
Oh, everyone is accusing them of covering this up, of lying, of doing all kinds of misdeeds. You know, we were all ticked off when the Ramsey family lawyered up real early in the game, and then years later we find out they were totally innocent.
No, a brand new district attorney comes in and states that that the Ramseys are not responsible for the DNA found on the Ramsey crime scene. I would hardly think that that is a total exoneration. But since you're making comparisons, can we get away from that and go back to this case? As much as I know you want to rehash the Ramsey case.
It's not an admission of guilt to lawyer up early in the game or late in the game, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to protect themselves.
What about it, Eleanor?
Well, use your common sense, everybody. Why are they getting a criminal defense lawyer? They obviously feel like their rights might be violated somehow, or they might be charged with something down the line.
Well, I spoke with him here last night, and he said it was to basically push to the forefront their plight and the plight of little Caylee. But he is a veteran criminal defense attorney. Back out to the lines, Dawn in Washington. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
I'm good, dear. What's your question?
Yes, I have a question. I was wondering if they do find Kaylee's remains and find out that she did do it. I was wondering, are they going to ask for the death penalty?
To Nikki Pierce with WDBO, has there been any such discussion?
Well, I think that we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. There hasn't been any discussion of that, but I'm sure that you could ask the lawyers on your panel, but I suppose that it could be a possibility, but there has to be a lot more evidence
that comes in. So the answer is no, there's been no discussion of it as of yet?
None as of yet.
To Kathy in Minnesota. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Nancy. I enjoy your program very much, and I think you're doing a wonderful job for this poor family. You're welcome. And I'm calling in reference to, would she have to testify if this ever goes to court?
Absolutely not. Under the Fifth Amendment to our Constitution, you have the right not to incriminate yourself. You have the right to remain silent. And now the Miranda even reads, anything you say will be held against you. In fact, Kathy in Minnesota, it cannot even be commented upon in opening or closing arguments that the defendant did not take the stand, because that is perceived to be a comment on you exercising your constitutional rights. So she absolutely does not have to testify. I want to go back out to Natisha Lance, our producer, standing by at the Anthony home. Natisha, is it correct that these new charges could get her 50 years behind bars?
That's right, Nancy. She could get up to 50 years behind bars for these charges. And let's not forget, she also has other charges that could come into play, too. There's still 2 outstanding checks that she wrote out of her friend Amy Huzenga's account.
To Dr. Bethany Marshall, psychoanalyst and author of Deal Breakers. Bethany, does it ever end? I mean, we know she stole from her parents, ran up a huge credit card bill while little Caylee was missing. She went shopping. We know that. We know that she stole from her grandmother's assisted living fund. Okay, grandmother, I guess up in her 80s, stole from her grandmother, a little old lady, literally. Now stealing from a friend that loaned her car, steals checks and goes and writes them all over creation.
Well, I mean, it speaks to a larger pattern of antisocial behavior, reckless disregard for the safety of self and others, failure to honor financial obligations.
Bethany.
Yes.
She's stealing, according to these charges, from her own family. Doesn't that wave a red flag right in front of your face? Bethany, you're a shrink. She is victimizing her own mother, her mother that gave birth to her. If she would do that to her, what would she do to Caylee?
Well, I mean, you just answered the question. It is such a profound disorder of attachment, a disruption of social obligation and of conscience. I mean, when you think when a person doesn't attach, they don't have any empathy, any connection to the people around them, it doesn't matter if they violate the rights of their child or they violate the rights of their own parents. It's the same disorder any way you look at it. And, you know, Nancy, Cindy and George are victims, too, just like little Caylee was a victim.
I agree. Everyone, tonight there is a mother who is desperate that needs your help finding her 5-year-old son, Giovanni Gonzalez. If you have info, take a look. Please call the Lynn, Massachusetts police. He's a 5-year-old little boy, 781-595-2000.